There are two main projectors that work for most people. I've tested an embarrassing number of projectors for sewing, and I've learned a thing or two about what makes a good projector for sewing. First off, everyone's sewing room is different. So there is no one size fits all. Projector technology has drastically improved over the years, and projectors that work well for sewing have increased. At the time of this video, at the end of 2025, there are two main projectors that work for most people. I also regularly update my recommended projector list on my website, projectorsewing.com, and I also post reviews on this YouTube channel. But you can always go to my webpage here, or the link is also in the description for the latest recommendation. Now, let's jump in to what projectors you should choose for sewing. The current top two recommended projectors for sewing are first this small projector and this one over here, which is quite a bit larger. Now, the key difference between these two projectors, besides size, is how they are set up for sewing and the limitation on projected image size. So let's start with this little guy. Some people will call this a mini projector. So you'll hear that often in projector sewing about a mini projector. Well, that really just refers to its small size. There are a lot of mini projectors on Amazon if you go type that in, and they just refer to a projector that is small in size. It's very lightweight and compact, and that's what makes it ideal for a variety of setups for sewing, including whether you are going to be mounting this to the ceiling or to a wall, tension rods, and even tripods. This small, lightweight size makes it possible to mount in a variety of locations. This particular projector is recommended to mount with a distance of at least 36 inches from the lens to your table, all the way up to a maximum of about 80 inches from lens to table. The distance that a projector is from the cutting surface is directly related to the size of the projected image. The further the distance, the larger the projected image is. If you have very high ceilings, you may consider a different mounting option or a different projector. At the recommended distances, between 36 inches to 80 inches, this projector will give you a range of image sizes from about 40 inches wide to 89 inches wide in your projected image or your cutting image. This projector works well with the ceiling and wall mounts that are available on projectorsewing.com. The first one is called the mount, and it works for a variety of projectors for ceiling mounted. If you have a slanted ceiling, then you should use the flex mount. The flex mount can also be used to mount this projector from the wall and have a cutting table flush to the wall. The projector will need to be tilted to shine on to your table, but still works in connection with our calibration programs. Now, let's take a look at this beast. It's quite a bit larger than this small compact one. And side by side, you may wonder, why would anyone choose this one? over this one. And again, it comes to how they are mounted and the image size. This projector is called an ultra short throw projector. And it's the projector that you might see used in classrooms all around the world. Now, brand new, these can be quite expensive. We're talking thousands of dollars. But there's no need to buy these brand new. There is a thriving secondhand market for these projectors. In fact, I'll have a link below where you can find these at a great price. Ultra short throw projectors are mounted a little bit different than you will see these small mini projectors. We do need them to point down to our cutting table and not on a wall like you would see in a classroom. In a classroom, you may typically find these laying like this on the ground or next to the board, or or you might also see them up on the ceiling like that, pointing towards the wall. For sewing, we want it to point at the table. So in fact, setting it up like this on the table will have the image shining directly onto your fabric. Ultra short throws can focus in a very short distance. They can be placed directly on your table, on a shelf next to your table, or on a stand near your cutting table. They typically shouldn't be placed more than 2 feet from the cutting surface, or you might not be able to focus the lens. Even though they are placed near the table, they can produce a decent image size. In just 12 inches from the lens to the table, you can get up to a 40-inch wide projection. And at 24 inches from lens to the table, you can get up to 80 inches wide projection, depending on which ultra short throw you get. While you can just put this on your table or on your shelf, one of my favorite ways to mount this is actually on a rolling TV stand, because I can roll it where I need it when I am cutting out my sewing patterns, and then I can roll it and put it away as needed. It's great if you need to set up your projector sewing setup on the fly, or cutting at your kitchen table and then rolling it away to a closet. I will leave a link below to the stand that I like to use. Now, there are a few other differences and considerations that you need to take into consideration before choosing a projector for sewing. So here are some things that you should think about before choosing a projector for sewing. 1, the brightness of your sewing room. And next, how clear you want the images to be. Most projector sewists will cut in a dim room. You can put curtains on the window during the day, and you will have no issues seeing projector lines. The programs that we project patterns from also allow us to invert pattern colors, create thicker lines in the click of a button. But if your sewing room is constantly very bright, you may want to factor projector lumens into the question. If you have a very bright room that you sew in and it's hard to put curtains on the windows, you may want to consider projectors with higher lumens ratings. Ultra short throw projectors are typically brighter than mini projectors. If you are willing to spend a little bit more than a base mini projector, you can get mini projectors that also have higher lumens or better brightness. But keep an eye on image sizes, as not all projectors will produce a large enough image for sewing in short distances available between your ceiling and table. Next, think about how important image clarity is to you in your sewing room. The native resolution of a projector is what affects image clarity. You may have heard about this when you are buying TVs, such as something being 720 pixels, 1080 pixels, 4K. That refers to the resolution of your TV. Native resolution is the pixels per inch on a display. Higher resolution often creates a crisper image, lines, and text. I recommend getting something with at least 720 pixels native resolution. Ignore the supported resolution and look at the native resolution of that projector. 1080 pixel will produce a slightly crisper image. So will a 4K. But the cost increase is typically not worth the added image quality from a 1080 pixel to a 4K. But the image clarity will be better on a 4K than it is on a 1080. You just have to compare the cost to see if that feature is worth it to you. Keep in mind, if any of that seems confusing or you don't want to deal with the specs and looking at a projector and possibly getting one that will not produce a good image size for sewing, then don't forget, I've already gone all through the work. I've reviewed several projectors for sewing. I've published many of my reviews here on YouTube, or you can see my latest recommended projectors, my top 3 choices, by going to projectorsewing.com. Remember, you can always start with one of the recommended projectors for sewing and upgrade to a nicer projector later once you get the hang of things and develop some preferences. So, which one are you going to choose? Do you prefer an ultra short throw projector that produces a large image in a short distance? Or the flexibility and lightweightness of a mini projector? Let me know your thoughts in the comment below. And stay tuned to learn more about my latest reviews. Thank you for joining me.